and welcome to Danica Raven's Bitesize Horror. This week we have another story from LeVick. This one's titled Pepper's Ghost. If you're sitting comfortably, we shall begin. Luther Pepper was thrilled every time a class visited the science museum that he worked at. His department dealt with optical illusions. His day had been unusually slow, with only a few children seen earlier that morning. He was about to take a break when a group of students, accompanied by their teacher, entered. "Excellent! Welcome to the Hall of Illusions. Everyone gather into the room. I am Dr. Luther Pepper, no relation to the soda or the man that popularised the optical illusion that we're about to discuss today." The students smiled. Luther continued his lesson. The illusion, known as Pepper's Ghost, was made popular by John Henry Pepper in 1862. The audience is tricked into believing that ghosts are appearing and disappearing at will. The students were listening with full attention. Luther was overjoyed. To accomplish such a trick, the illusionist utilises a stage that is separated into two rooms. One room the audience can see into and view the entire stage for the performance. A hidden room, referred to as the blue room, is angled to the side of the main room. Plexiglass, plastic film or a plate of glass is placed somewhere in the main room at an angle, typically rotated around its vertical axis at 45 degrees. The illusionist must be careful to make the glass as invisible as possible. Usually this is done by moulding the lower edges into the floor pattern. Luther still had the children's attention. This was his most attentive audience ever. The lighting in the blue room is made dark, while the lighting in the main room is set brightly. This means the reflected image in the blue room cannot be seen. The blue room typically contains an object, a person, or an animatronic robot that will appear when the illusion is activated. The lighting in the blue room is then increased, while the lighting in the main room dims to make the effect more stunning. The blue room is often an identical copy of the main room, so the reflected image matches identically. It is also common for the blue room to be painted black. This way, only the lightly coloured, ghostly objects appear within the reflected illusion. This creates the effect of translucent ghosts floating. Luther was having a wonderful time, marvelling at the smiling faces of the students. Essentially, reflections and lighting create a miraculous ghostly effect. The most famous use of Pepper's ghost illusion is the Haunted Mansion of Disney World and Disneyland. Behind me are small segments of the famous ballroom scene and the hitchhiking ghost scene. As the lighting in the very room changes, you can see the ghosts appear. Luther hit the switch to alter the lighting to create the ghostly illusion. The children's smiles beamed even brighter. Luther was ecstatic at the wondrous gazes of the children admiring the ghosts. He let them marvel and point at different ghostly effects. The hitchhiking ghost effect is created by a conveyor belt that rotates animatronic ghosts that travel at the same speed as the doom buggy vehicle that the passengers ride. Personally, I was terrified the first time I encountered this trick as a child visiting Disney World. A ghost sitting directly in my lap was a bit unnerving. The children frowned at this news. Oh, I was only 5 years old at the time. As I got a little older, I appreciated the majesty of the illusion. The children's smiles returned. "Thank you for visiting my portion of the Hall of Illusions. Please note the diagrams near the exit, and thank you for being such a wonderful audience." Luther watched the children and the teacher exit through the open door at the end of the room. As soon as the children left, Lucy's co-worker, Sally, entered his portion of the exhibit. "Wow, you were so bored you rehearsed your spiel out loud?" inquired Sally. No, I had the most delightful group of children. They were so polite, Luther replied. Luther, all I heard was you, Sally said. Come on, Sally. You must have passed them to get here. How do you miss 30 children? Luther mocked. Luther, I passed no one, Sally said, a look of concern in her eyes. Fine. You don't believe me? Check the security footage, Luther said indignantly. Sally and Luther made their way to the security room. Luther rewound the footage and was horrified to see himself giving a lesson to thin air. They played the footage from the beginning. Sally looked nervously at Luther. I'm not losing my mind, Sally. There were children there. Fearful that he was indeed losing his mind, Luther protested. Whatever, Sally said as she turned on the audio. To her horror and amazement, the voices and gasps of wonder could be heard from numerous school children. Luther, did the children that you saw say anything? They were completely silent, not a peep. I was just thrilled to have such a polite audience, Luther responded. Luther, do you believe in ghosts? Sally asked. Always, but I've never encountered one, Luther answered. Until today, when you encountered 30 of them. That's EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, Sally commented. It was 31 if you count the teacher. What's electronic voice phenomenon? Luther mumbled in shock. Those children that you saw were ghosts. You couldn't hear them, but the security system picked up the audio, Sally replied. Luther just sat there in total shock. Well, it sounds like the ghost children had a fun time, Sally said with a small smile. Luther nervously smiled back. He and Sally would never forget this day. That was a spooky story about some scary special effects. But if that wasn't enough to thrill you, why not check out our next video, where we'll be looking at yet another scary story by another author. If you enjoyed the show, why not like, comment and subscribe.